Got it. Let's go.
Ooh,
Ooh,
ooh, feel it down in my
ooh, in
plums.
my plums, my juicy plums. The
That
juice running down my chin.
with a bright blue hue.
Bluish hue. Oh,
Feel it down in my plums.
down in my plums. Oh. Hey, it was a good draft today, Steven. It was a good day to be a Chief fan, buddy.
Chiefs Kingdom, all chiefed up here, giving you a little recap of the second round of the NFL draft, and maybe a little hot takes here and there. But bear with me. I'm 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 working through it. I like it. Day two was good for the Chiefs. Day one was good for the Chiefs. So far, the draft has been good to the Chiefs. So that being said, Mike, let's go. That first pick in the second round there, we actually ended up trading back, right?
Yeah. At pick 50, we were sitting there on Twitter. We were counting it down. We were like, hey, man, it looks like George Pickens is going to fall. He's going to fall. He's going to fall. Pick 50 comes around. And I was like, oh, Pickens, Chiefs fans are going to go ape. And then all of a sudden it says Chiefs trade with the Patriots. And I bet everyone's head exploded in Chief Kingdom when we did that.
Well, see, I've been big on Pickens and I wanted them to take him. But when they traded back, I was like, oh, well, I think I see what they're doing here. The teams that are in front of them are not going to take him. So they're just going to drop back, get a pick back in the fourth round, and then go ahead and grab him.
Yeah.
Okay. And they didn't. They
No, but
took,
they took Sky Moore, which, like I said, I actually mocked Sky Moore to the Chiefs. I did it in the first round because he was getting first round buzz. So technically, to be picked at pick number 54, that is a monstrous steal on Sky Moore. So
I do like the Sky Moore pick. Like, I was talking on Twitter to somebody, said, the Sky Moore pick is good. Like, it's a good pick, but I'm a little salty. And it's,
Steve, you want those big receivers. You're ready to get rid of these little tiny guys, but I
I
just don't
am.
know if Veach and Reed are ever going to get away from that. Let's
They're
be
they're not
honest.
they're not going to, but I mean, I think Sky Moore's a good step because he's not necessarily your typical just going to play in the slot type receiver. Like he can do a lot of things, and he wins fast, and he's smart. He's going to run the right route. He's going to catch the ball. He's reliable, and so I think it's a win getting Sky Moore, especially that late. And so I was good. I'm working through it. I'm good. I'm good. And then our second pick came up at what, 64? What was second pick?
Our second pick was number 62. Pick
62.
pick 30 in the second round.
Right. So at 62, I'm sitting there, I'm feeling good. I'm like, okay, we didn't get Pickens, we got more. And then I think Pittsburgh ended up taking George Pickens, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, obviously you aren't going to go back to back receiver anyway. So I'm thinking, I'm like, N'Kobe Dean's still on the board, which is insane. Um, and then there were some other options. Nick Benito. Everyone knows that me and you both wanted Nick Benito.
Yeah.
So
Nick
I'm
Benito
like,
was
man,
there.
there's some really good players still on the board right here. And Brian Cook gets picked at 62. And I'm not taking away from Brian Cook. He's a good safety. He didn't let up any touchdowns. He was just like Sauce over there at Cincinnati. He didn't let up any touchdowns at the safety position. He's a big hitter. I mean, you got to like what you see when you look at the tape. But once again, why safety? Why now? It's like my head wanted to explode a little bit. And of course, you know, I had to go ahead and vent a little bit on Twitter. And I just, at that point where I was at, the minute that they took Brian Cook, safety right there, in my head, it's like, this played straight into Veach's hands. Like the second round, the way everybody fell, it's like, dude, you can George Pickens and N'Kobe Dean out of the second round and look like a hero. And like you got a big potential number one wide receiver, and then you just got a guy that should have been in the top 15 in a draft, but of course he had some medical issues, come to find out. But in my head, I'm just like, it was so easy. Like they threw the fastball down the middle. All you had to do was hit it out of the park and you whiffed. Like that's where I was at with it. With Veach and crew, I was just like, what are they doing? They had every opportunity to knock this thing out of the park. It was handed to them on a silver platter, and they whiffed. Like that's kind of where I was at for the longest.
Yeah. So when we were on the clock at number 50 and we traded down to get Sky Moore at 54, the Steelers actually took Pickens at number 52. So when we traded, we lost Pickens. It was gone at that point.
Well, everyone knew that was going to happen too. The minute that we traded back, it's like he was
Yeah.
there for the taking
So I mean, but like
for
I
the
said,
Pickens.
Sky Moore was rated a 91.8 on PFF's grade last year. That was the number one wide receiver in all of college football. So I mean, that's kind of a steal where we were.
Yeah,
But
I know.
getting on to the next pick, at 62, you're not big on Brian Cook, but I think Brian Cook, it's not necessarily, I think they just don't have faith in um they don't have faith in the kid we drafted, Juan
Thornhill.
Thornhill. They don't have faith in him ever getting back to pre-injury day. And I think Brian Cook's going to be the guy that comes in the box and he's almost like a third line or a fourth linebacker rather. And I don't know, he's going to be fast. He's going to hit you. That's what he does. I had him rated at 106, something like that on my big board. So it was a reach. We took him at 62. That's about, I don't know, that's about 2 rounds too
It's a
fast.
reach.
But
Brian
that's
Cook.
just me. I
Well,
mean,
here, okay, I'm exactly where I was at in the first round. So it's like I don't dislike Brian Cook. I don't dislike that pick. I think he's great. The same way in the first round, I thought McDuffie is obviously great. He's a great player and he was top 10 talent, and you're getting him at 21. That's awesome. And then Brian Cook, he don't look bad. He looks like a good safety. But at the same time, I'm in the same boat I was yesterday where I'm like, why now? Like the same way I thought instead of taking McDuffie, you could have addressed some other issues and then got Cam Taylor Britt in the second, third round, or Josh Jobe in the third round, who's still, I think, hanging out on the board, and just some guys like that. I thought that why are we taking Brian Cook in the second round when we could take Brian Cook in the third round, first of all? And then why are we taking Brian Cook in the second round when we could take Nick Cross in second or third round?
dude,
Eh,
Nick Cross did not go to like pick 90 something. The Colts come up and took him, I believe. And that's kind of a surprise. Nick Cross was a top 65 for me, I think, right around the area. So that was a big surprise. But to be honest, maybe like just us in the old mock draft world and all of our YouTube content creators, maybe we were just bigger on Cross than the NFL was, obviously.
I don't understand it because I mean it's just plain as day. If you look at his measurables, you look at his combine, you look at his tape, he's unreal. I mean, he's one of the best athletes in this draft, hands down. And it didn't seem to matter to any of them. I don't understand. I think that not New England, I'm sorry, but Indianapolis, they actually like killed the draft on the day too. Alec Pierce, they got Nick Cross,
They
and
got Bernard Ryman, however he pronounces
yeah,
it.
man. I mean, they racked up.
Hey, for
But
the Colts to not for the Colts to not even get a pick till the mid-second round, they've not done too bad for themselves.
but let me tell you what Brett Veach did do. So much like yesterday, when I was internally struggling with the fact that we took the corner early, once again, happy about McDuffie, but
They went to
wasn't
the big dub, Steve. They
but
went to the big dub.
I wasn't happy about taking corner early, so I was kind of the internal struggle. But then they came in and took Karlaftis at pick 30, and I felt good about what happened because, like, man, that's two top 15 talents that we just snagged in the first round, and I felt good about it. Like I came into day two, like we're in a good spot. I don't know how it set up everything. We were kind of worried that some of the receivers like Pickens and stuff were going to come off mega early. And I was like, they're not going to be able to trade back up into the second round necessarily now because they done went ahead and used the trade or the draft capital to trade up in the first. So I was like, I wasn't sure about it. So they took Sky Moore. It didn't play out for George Pickens or anything like that. And I think Christian Watson went to the Packers, which I'm okay with too because I wasn't big on Watson drops. But yeah, go ahead and take Sky Moore. a little salty. I didn't get George Pickens, but I like Sky Moore. I like the pick. I mean, I mocked Sky Moore to the Chiefs several times in the first round. So taking them where we did, I was think about it and you watch them and you're like, man, that's a good pick. And then they come with the safety thing and get Brian Cook. And here I am in the same predicament I was yesterday, just mad. Like, why did we reach on a safety? It makes no sense to me. Just furious. Like, man, Beach, you could have knocked it out of the park and you whiffed. What are we doing right now? But then, lo and behold, we get to 103 and he takes Leo Chanel, who I absolutely love. I had no idea. I didn't even think that was really on his radar because he passed N'Kobe Dean so many times. I didn't think he even cared about a linebacker at that point. You know what I mean? And then he
Yeah.
pulls the trigger on Leo Chanel, and I got happy again. I'm like, okay, you saved it again, like you did yesterday with Karloftis. So now I'm in a good mood about it, and I feel like overall it's a good, successful day in the draft. But I was furious right in the middle of it. I mean, anybody that is on Twitter knows it, and of course, the minute I start venting, people start, yelling at me and stuff, telling me that I
Yeah. You're
think I
not allowed to
know.
vent.
Look, you think you know the team better than Brett Veach and Andy Reid? What are you, an idiot?
I don't know. I think, let me look at this big board here. Brian Cook at 106. And at the time, you had Nick Cross, who was a 58 on my big board. You know who's really weird that has not come off the board at all yet? Unless I missed it. Did I miss? Did I miss Perry and Winfrey get drafted, or has he just not been drafted?
No, now I'm thinking of Federian Mathis. I don't know.
Yeah,
Has he not been drafted yet
no,
for
he's
real?
not been drafted. Here's the big board of who's left: Cade Otton, or Dominique Robinson, Daniel Falele from Minnesota, Zamir White, Darian Kennard, Isaiah Spiller, Perry and Winfrey, Sam Howell, Charlie Kohler, Kobe Bryant. There's a lot of big names out here. Khalil Shakir. There's a lot of players still on the board,
See,
man. Like,
that's another reason that I was kind of salty with the Sky Moore pick. Like I said, it's a great pick, and I don't dislike Sky Moore, but like I was in love with Trey McBride, and I was in love with George Pickens, and some of them picks in my head, I'm like, these are solid picks that could really make a difference on this team. And then they take Sky Moore, and it's like, oh, more of the same that we already have or already have had.
yeah, so
Awesome.
you love the Leo Chenal pick. I like Leo Chenal. He was number 49 on my big board. I know like Bro Schmo, some of the content creators, they think he was the best linebacker in the whole draft. We snagged him at 103. That is insane value. But I was kind of confused because I thought Leo Chenal was a middle linebacker, and I didn't think he was fast enough to play the outside. I guess I'm wrong. I guess they think he is because you're not moving Nick Bolton out of the middle, are you? Like he's already proved he's the middle guy. Like that's why we got rid of Hitchens. So I mean, good value, but that was the head scratcher for me in a way. It's like, well, are we going to are we looking to run a totally different defense than we've seen before? Like, what's going on?
I don't know. You have to think about it too. They did go ahead and take the safety, and I think the reason why they took Brian Cook, they reached really high on Brian Cook, which I'm still not a fan of doing that. But I think the reason why they valued safety as high as they did is because Spags plays a lot of three safety sets. If you think about it, there were several times last season where Honey Badger, Thornhill, and Sorensen were all on the field. So we're playing three safeties, two linebackers a lot of the time. So I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they think he can cover well enough. I don't know what his 40 was. I don't have it like in my face to be able to tell you. I don't want to say anything wrong, but I don't know. I guess they think he can either play or they're just going to use him majority for running downs. Maybe they're going to use him as a insurance policy for Bolton and Willie Gay. Maybe they think he can do both. I don't know.
Maybe.
Brian Cook possibly might come down and play a little linebacker. I mean, he thumps. So I think that's why they overvalued him maybe a little more. Maybe they're wanting something totally different than what Thornhill can offer, and they thought Brian Cook was the only guy that could give it to him. I don't know.
I
I'm not going to
guess.
question it. I mean, it is what it is. The Chiefs always kind of do this and leave us scratching our heads, especially after Brian Cook. The next two picks are Nick Benito and
That made me sick.
you
It's
know,
like you literally just let who I think is going to be the best edge rusher when it's all said and done.
But
Go to
he's
Denver. He went to
yeah.
Denver of all places, man.
Well,
The
they
all chiefed
say
up my guy ends up as a donkey.
right.
It's
Hey, well,
sick.
JT Woods ended up getting drafted to San Diego, so go figure.
Yeah.
Like, but it's one of those things where it's like, we love, Nick Benito, but let's be realistic. Was they going to draft him? Probably not. They think he's too skinny and he can't set the
I
edge.
know we have to go by them.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
have to go by Spags rules, or you can't get drafted here.
it's like
Which,
we don't want a player that's just going to go out there and play football and make plays, make things happen. He needs to look a certain way first. It's
yeah,
fantastic theory. It's great. It's been working great if you've noticed.
yep. So, anyways, I threw up on Twitter, hey, Chief Kingdom, we got Sky Moore, Brian Cook, Leo Chanel. What are you guys going to grade it? And an overwhelming amount of votes. We're at 65 votes. It's only been up for like 20 minutes or something. 91% A, 99% or 9% B. No votes for a C, no votes for D/F. So Chiefs Kingdom loved today's draft, which I thought they were going to be really salty once we kind of passed on Pickens there at 50 and traded down.
I believe
But
opportunities were squandered. They were. There were opportunities squandered, but it's also one of those things where, like, man, I feel like, why did you pass on George Pickens, Trey McBride, and stuff like that? Go ahead, take Sky Moore, and then you know, then take the safety. So there's lots of questions, and I feel like things could have went a whole different way. And in my head, I'm like, man, this thing's teed up. Let's knock it out the park, and it don't happen. So you just kind of get a little frustrated. But I mean, when I look back at it, and overall, I mean, we're checking boxes like crazy of what we actually needed. And I even made the comment on Twitter to somebody. They were saying, they might not be the names that you guys want, but it's all the positions that you want. And I'm like, well, I understand that. It's not rocket science to pick the positions that you need, but it's borderline crazy that we passed on all
well,
these people and traded back. So it's like, but anyway, like all the point I'm getting to is I think it's fair that they assessed it as an A, because even though I mean, at one point I was literally irritated, like just staring at the TV, like, why?
you're
Like,
just not
why do we reach?
you don't like safeties and corners. I can tell.
It's not that. It's just that I feel like there were safeties and corners that were good, that were you could have grabbed further down the board. And the thing about Brian Cook, the thing that made me so mad is like, why did we do that when we could have got Brian Cook at 103? Like nobody's going to take him.
I think what happens with Chiefs draft and what happens with Chief fans is we get so in depth and so so just wrapped up in the mock draft and who we like, and we watch film and this and that. And I believe Pickens just turned into a Kansas City love child, sparked by, I want to
Yeah.
say, Ryan Tracy or one of them at RGR got it going about 2 months ago when he talked about Pickens being a top elite receiver. Not saying he's wrong, but he got Kansas City fans just fired up for George Pickens. So I think what hurts people that don't like it is we seen at number 50, Chief fans said, hey, he's going to be a round one pick. He ain't going to get by Green Bay. I said he was the number 54 pick in the draft. He goes number 52. Everybody said I was dumb for 2 months. So somebody wasn't dumb. And
Look,
then number
okay.
two, they could have got George Pickens. So I think when we passed it, I think everybody just was kind of set on George Pickens. And when we didn't take him, it's just kind of a letdown. But to Kansas City's big board, they probably didn't even consider Pickens there, probably, unless you could have got him at pick 60.
So I
Like,
don't think you're,
obviously, they had Sky Moore rated higher, or they wouldn't have traded out.
well, yeah. I mean, obviously. But my thing with like Pickens thing is like, I don't think you're dumb that you said he would go 52 or 54 in the draft, whatever. That don't make you dumb. But I think that
No, everybody just said he was a round one talent, and I said too many question marks that don't usually translate. I mean,
I
look at
get
Nakobe
that.
Dean.
But that's not changing the fact that he's a round one talent. Because I'm telling you right now, you barring that injury that happened last year, like he was a top 5 receiver in this draft. And everybody's so worried about either A, that injury, or B, oh, he's, a hothead and this and that. And it's like, who cares about that kind of stuff? I mean, I don't.
I mean, it don't take much. Do you remember when Laramie Tunsil or whatever, the whole weed smoking thing before the draft, and he ended up
Yeah.
falling like round 4, and now he's selling an NFT of like a weed for like 20 million or something. So it's like
No,
times change,
no
but
Cheech over there.
the NFL always overreacts to news. So I mean, look at Nakobe Dean. Apparently, something about his shoulder. He didn't get a surgery, so he drops all the way to like round 3.
That was
That's
another one.
insane.
That was another reason I was a little salty. It's like Nakobe Dean's fell this far. Obviously, there's a reason he's fell this far, but is it really one of those things? It's like a big deal, or is it just something everybody's overinflating? And why are we passing on him? Like, why are we passing on him twice? Like, what's going on here? And obviously, I was like, well, linebacker's not on the board. Like, they don't think we need a linebacker. Obviously, we're passing to Kobe Dean like he's nothing. And then they turn around and take Leo Chanel at 103, and I kind of got even more confused. I was happy because I love Leo Chanel, but what's going on with Nakobe Dean? So I'm just confused, about the whole thing. And like I said, I think looking back at it, just like yesterday, I think I graded a B plus to A minus for day one draft, and the only reason that I didn't give it a straight, just solid A is because I didn't like the fact that we traded up for a corner. Uh, Same in this draft, like in the second round of the draft. I didn't like the safety pick where we did it, but if you look at overall what we just did, the fact that we've got a corner, a safety, and a linebacker and an edge rusher, our defense is going to look a little different. We're going to be pretty young, and I think that each player is solid in their own right. So I mean, and then you add in Sky Moore, who definitely maybe the best fit for Kansas City since they're in love with that kind of thing.
I still think we add another wide receiver at some point. I may be wrong, but we may double dip in the wide receiver category.
I don't think it would hurt, and there's still people on the board that are great. Calvin Austin hasn't even been picked yet.
No, very surprising. See, I mean, if you took Sky Moore, you're probably not taking Calvin Austin. So obviously they valued Moore over Austin. I
So
tend to think if you were trying to get a Tyree, if you wanted a Tyreek Hill lookalike, I think it was Calvin Austin over Sky Moore. I think his short area quickness was better, but I guess they like Sky Moore's route running ability a little better.
I like Sky Moore.
I think
do.
what hurts Chief fans though is kind of like what I was alluding to. If we said at 50, we could have took George Pickens. When if we stay at 62 and don't take Brian Cook, you could have took Nick Benito, which we had mocked. So it hurts because those are the players we wanted the Chiefs to get, and they had a good chance of getting them. And Veach just said that's not the direction we're going.
They didn't have a good chance. They could have got him.
Yeah,
they could have got Trey McBride. They could have got a lot of good players. But
your guy come off the board. You've been talking about James Cook, and he come off the board. One pick after we took Brian Cook.
Yeah, that's absolutely sick. And he went to Buffalo, who is gearing up to just absolutely destroy us this year. That's their whole goal. And here they are, adding another piece to that offense. Because James Cook, y'all can say what you want, but he's going to be a stud. Like the dude's just multidimensional. He's 3-down back. He's just good. He's a lot like his brother. And you're going to find out real quick because Buffalo's biggest weakness that they've had this whole time is at running back because Singletary is only going to have a couple good runs a game. And I don't even know who the heck else they had running the ball last season. But now you got that threat in there. It just makes them even more tough, man. And then we're going to have a young defense trying to figure it out. So
you know what? How weird is it on day one we trade with the Patriots? Day two we trade with the Patriots. Like,
yeah.
What is the deal? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say tomorrow we may trade with the Patriots at some point.
So
I don't know why.
What's up with the Patriots anyway?
Dude.
Why did they trade up 3 picks or something like that to get Tyquan Thornton? Was that who they got?
Yes.
What?
They
Why?
come up
Much like I'm wondering why we picked Brian Cook at 62 when we could have got him at 103. I'm also perplexed that they traded up 3 spots because they felt like somebody was going to take Tyquan Thornton right there, which I don't think was going to happen.
Were they thinking the Steelers? Maybe because the Steelers did take George Pickens, but was Tyquan Thornton rated higher on these NFL players' boards than Pickens? It's a very good possibility. He ran like a 4.2.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't think so. But
I feel like Belichick and them has had a weird draft, and not to mention they traded Shaq Mason for like a round 4 and a round 5, and then they turn around and trade that for like 2 round 6 picks or something. Like, what's happening with them?
I don't know, but I'm still kind of confused about George Pickens going to Pittsburgh because yeah, everybody's like, "Oh, Pittsburgh could take a receiver." Why are they taking a receiver?
I
What's
just
Pitts
I
like?
don't
What
think
are
Chase Claypool's developed like they want. And I had already said that earlier. I've alluded that we should have threw out a little draft pick and tried to get Chase
do
Claypool.
they still have Washington as well?
James Washington. I'm not for sure if Washington's still there. I know they still got Deontay
Right,
Johnson.
that's what I'm sitting there. I'm thinking, like, man, they got a pretty solid receiver room. What are they? Why are they going after Pickens? I
I
don't know,
mean,
man.
I don't know.
I tell
It's
you,
just
it's just
it,
been weird. It's been very weird, and it's one of those things where we're gonna look back on it next year and be like, man, I don't know why I was high on that player anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's
yeah.
like I'm not worried about it. I don't like the way things feel at certain times, and I do. I'm one of those people that I will have a knee jerk reaction to things, and I will get mad fast, and I'll vent fast. But then normally I'll settle and realize things are just fine, just like I did. Like after that Brian Cook pick, man, I'm telling you, I was
So
just
let's talk about the draft in general. If you had to say the biggest reach of the day, are you going to count Veach with the biggest reach with Brian Cook, or are you going to go somewhere else?
um that's a good question. And yes, I'm gonna take him with the biggest reach, I believe.
Okay, you're over Tyquan Thornton and the Patriots.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah, but I think it's right there with it because I think Taekwon Thornton and Brian Cook were both third round talent, and they both got taken mid to late second round. So, yeah, I think they're both equally
I think
pretty
a
big
pretty big
reaches.
reach in the first round. And it pains me to say it because I like him, but I just don't think he's the 43rd best player in the draft. Wandale Robinson, I like him, but
Oh no, 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 no! That's what I
I
was getting
do
ready to
not.
say.
That's a
No,
little rich, and I
no,
know
whoa,
they wanted to
whoa,
get
whoa,
rid
whoa,
of.
whoa! No, that's one of the better sleeper picks in this second round. You're out of your
At number
mind,
43 in the whole draft.
Mike.
No way. They
Look,
took
here's the
Wandale
thing.
Robinson above John Mechie. That's crazy.
That's fine because I think he's just as good, and people
Did
don't
you
realize
have
it
what?
because
Did you have Wandale Robinson rated higher than George Pickens on your big board? You didn't, and he went 14 picks higher. How are you
that's
saying this is
fine.
good?
That's fine. But I know Wandale Robinson is a good player, and I know what they're getting.
Oh, he's
And what's
perfectly
what's
fine.
absolutely insane is the fact that people like Twitter went absolutely insane when they pick him. They're like, "Who did the Giants pick? Who's Wandale Robinson?" It's like, where do you live under a rock? Like,
Well, the fact that Wandale Robinson, John Mechie, Tyquan Thornton, Alec Pierce, and George Pickens were all picked before Sky Moore is insane to me. I don't know who was rating these players. This just shows how these big boards from team to team change because I just don't see Wandale Robinson being drafted before Mechie and Alec Pierce and Pickens and Sky Moore. That's insane to me. I don't know.
well, you got to
I feel
think
like that's a
about
little
like
reach.
oh, you gotta think about what you're getting with Wandale. Like he's got the speed, he's got the hands, but when you really dig into Wandale, like this dude's smart and he wants to win so bad. How many games did he will Kentucky through this year? Even the bowl game against Iowa, it's just like get me the ball and we're gonna win this thing. Like that's the type of player that you're getting with Wandale Robinson. And I don't see that changing. I think he's gonna have the same mentality in the NFL. Like he's gonna do what he got to do to make it happen. And I think that's a big thing because there's a lot of these players in these drafts that don't have that mentality. It's more me, what I can do to be flashy
Dude,
and you know what I'm saying?
You know what team I absolutely can't stand? They sit every year and get the luckiest draft board to fall to them.
Baltimore.
Baltimore Ravens
Yes.
every single time.
They got Ojabo. Like what that's another one that makes me mad too. The fact that we just sit there and had every opportunity in the world to get David Ojabo and just like, nah, that's cool. I mean, yeah, I understand the guy's not going to play this year, and we did take Karloftis, but Frank Clark's gone, guys, for all intents and purposes after this year.
The fact that the Ravens had Travis Jones fall to number 76 in the third round. This guy was looked on as a first round talent, and the Ravens get them to fall right in their lap.
Who else did they get? Who all have they got? Like pull up their board
They
because
got David Ojabo in the third, and then they took
second.
Yeah, the second, and then they just took him in the third, Travis Jones. That was their second and third round picks. I don't see any more on the board.
What about first round?
Oh yeah, the first round. Who did they get in round one? Let me go look. It'll take a second to bring it up. The NFL.com website may be the slowest, crappiest website in the history of the world, by the way. Well, while we're waiting on this, though, who do you think got the best value on day two? Because as bad as you hate Brian Cook, I think the Chiefs and Leo Chenal may have got the best value, to be honest.
Absolutely. You could give it to Chiefs in two different ways. You could say Sky Moore or Leo Chanel.
Yeah, Sky Moore
So
was good value.
so that's the thing about it. That's what I'm saying. I feel like that Leo Chanel pick really made me feel better as a whole about the day because I was really down on the whole thing with the Brian Cook pick. And once again, just like with McDuffie, it has nothing to do with the player. Player's fine, player's good, but it's just that position there. Just and the fact that I think we could have got him at pick 103.
Oh,
Just
the Ravens. Kyle Hamilton, the number one player on everybody's big board, fell to number 14, by the way.
yeah.
Oh, wait, they had one more. The best interior lineman, Tyler Lindenbaum.
Oh yeah, Illenderbaum. That's who they
Dude,
got.
are you kidding me? They've had a monster. They do this every year. It's complete luck. And they do not take players that are not flashy and big names. They take the biggest name every single time.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
they may as well let Mel Kiper just mock for him and just take whoever he wants because that's the way the Ravens always pick. And it always seems to work out pretty well. Whereas, like I said, the Chiefs always tend to be a little out of the box. And I knew it was coming, and it was the Brian Cook pick, to be honest. That was the one that was out of the box. And that's the
Yeah.
one you absolutely hated.
Yes.
But I
Still
mean,
do. I still hate it.
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. And I mean, whatever. It helps that we got back, at least with Sky Moore, we got back a 5th round pick. So
Okay, yeah, so that's where I'm at. So the Chiefs, what do we got left? We got one 4th rounder, we got a 5th rounder now,
yeah,
and then
we
we
got
got
a 4th, a
bunch
5th,
of
and 4 7ths.
and then we can try to find some people that might be on the practice squad in the 7th round. But yeah, so overall, where the Chiefs are
Doesn't
sitting right now.
doesn't it feel like with all the picks we had, like we just don't have a lot of players drafted? I feel like we should have like at least 8 more drafted by now, but
They
maybe
gave
that's
away
just me.
picks.
I guess so. Yeah.
We had to go up and get McDuffie. You know, we needed that corner that bad. But so where we at? Like, in your opinion, where the Chiefs are, they got a 4th round pick, a 5th round pick. Essentially, that's the only picks we got left. 7th round's a crapshoot. So what do you think they go after at this juncture? Because we've got a cornerback, an edge rusher, a safety, a linebacker, and a receiver. So what do you think the Chiefs are going to be looking at
I
with
think you
these picks?
have
Best player available or what?
probably, I do feel like you got to get a right tackle. I just don't see how they're comfortable with Lucas Yang being your long-term solution. I just don't
Also,
see
another
it.
reason I was mad about a lot of the picks that we did.
So,
That's why I was saying I get mad at the positions that they
so
valued.
yeah, they got to get a tackle. I would say one of these picks, they're
Look,
probably going to take a stab at a running back, unless they feel like there's a lot that come undrafted. And they may try to double up defensive end at some point, maybe defensive tackle. I think that's probably what they're going to look at.
yeah,
From
the
here
fact
out.
that they haven't taken a defensive insider is mind blowing as well.
Well, Perry and Winfrey's on the board. Maybe they'll go get him. I don't know.
Darren Kennard's on the board for right tackle. I don't think anybody's took him yet,
There's so many good
which is
players still on the
strange.
board.
It's very strange that Luke Fortner, or Kentucky center, went before Darren Kennard. It's kind of strange to me.
I was going to look that up earlier because I was looking on my big board because when they said that on ESPN, they were losing their minds. So look, I had Wandale Robinson rated 75 and he went 45. Pascal actually went higher than I had him rated.
Pascal's a beast.
I had Pascal at 77, so very high. I'm trying to see who I had higher, Kennard or Fortner. That's kind of what I wanted to look at. You could go ahead and
I think it's
talk about
Kennard. It's always
whatever you
higher.
need to.
Okay, well, I don't want to talk about anything. I want to go ahead and wrap this thing up. So basically where I'm at right now, even though I've been furious twice on, once on each day, I still think
Hey, I had Fortner rated 108 and I had Kennard 123. So I actually had Kennard below
Oh, I know.
Fortner.
You're always right. You're always right. Go ahead, toot your own horn. You big headed. That's all I've heard about all day is
It's so big, dude. My head is huge.
somehow Mike randomly picks every player of the second round spot on.
I did not. I went back and looked and I only called like four right.
It was a lot. It was a
It
lot.
was
It was to the point where I was like, dude, you're cheating. There's no way that you're just saying this stuff.
it was like four. I don't even
No,
remember.
it was
Like
like every pick.
no,
It
there
was
was a
like every pick.
couple. There was a couple I just shot a position, and then I just shot the two or three highest rated at the position. And I actually said Seattle was going to take Malik Willis, and they totally didn't. They took somebody stupid.
Yeah, but there was a lot. A lot.
Yeah, I went back and looked. It was like four or five. I called like four or five.
Either way. So where I'm at with this draft, even though I've been mad on day one, mad on day two, like furious both days, I'm still gonna say with all 5 picks, that I'm gonna give Brett Veach and crew. I'm gonna give him an A minus. A minus. And I think that it would be an A if they hadn't made some questionable decisions. The main thing to me, I'll even give them the trade up for McDuffie and everything and going ahead and taking a corner in the first round. I'll go ahead and give you that. But the fact that you took a guy at 62 or no, when did they take Cook?
Yeah, it was
62?
62, 64, something
Okay, the
like that.
fact that you took a guy at 62 that you could have easily got at 103, that docks you at least half of a letter grade, right? I mean, that's silly.
Hey, but I was telling you, like in the third round, there about third round, there was a huge run on safeties. Nick Cross ended up going. There was a few. So maybe he just thought there was going to be a safety run early, and he wouldn't have got him in the third round. I don't. That's the only thing I can come up with.
I guess, but I'm still taking off that half of a letter grade because of that in particular. But I think overall they've checked a lot of boxes, and we do have a lot of talent. Leo Chanel, Karloftis, McDuffie. I mean, that's killer for the defense right there. Go ahead and add in Cook as well. Even though we reached on him, he's still good. I mean, that's solid on that defense. The only offensive weapon we took was Sky Moore, and I mean, we've mocked him over and over again to late first round, and we got him in the second round. He's going to be a beast for us. I think him and Mahomes are going to get along just fine. And I'm an A minus right now going into what we're going into. And I think that the players that I would like to target with our fourth and fifth round picks, just off the top of my head, without really digging too much into it, I'd like to look at Darian Kennard. I think he could take that right tackle position from Lucas Yang. I really do. He's like I said before, he's an oak tree. He don't get moved. He's got some footwork to work on and things like that. But I mean, the guy's a monster. He's strong. He's an ox. Also, let's see. I think maybe, like you said, might want to double up on receiver. Maybe that's a possibility, or maybe look at a running back. I know it's not a popular opinion, but there's a few out there still, like a Jerry and Ely. Somebody just quick, fast, and can make some things happen on offense. Also, but I think the two players that I really want to target for fourth and fifth round, I'll go Darian Kennard and Charlie Kohler is what I'm going to go with.
Okay, I'll go first and foremost. I think I'll give Veach probably an A. I'll give him an A minus. I'm with you. I think maybe Cook was a little bit of a reach, but other than that, I don't know. I think for as much of a reach as he was, being able to get up the extra fifth round pick and being able to snag Chanel that late, I'll go ahead and cancel it out. So I'll say A minus. I'd like to see him maybe target a defensive lineman to go with Chris Jones, maybe like a Thomas Booker from Stanford. Really like him. They do need a tackle. I wouldn't know who they even look at. Maybe Matt will let's go from North Dakota State or somebody like that. And then I like a wide receiver. If they double that up, maybe Kevin Austin Jr. from Notre Dame. He runs
Calvin.
like a well, he's little, so I'm gonna go ahead and give him a big guy for you.
Okay.
Kevin Austin, he's like 6'3", run like a 4'3", so he's a
Yeah.
monster. He did stay injured a lot, but I mean, come on, everybody stays injured, it
Your
seems.
boy's still
So
on the board.
who? Samari
Some more.
Torre.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, that's somebody we may look at, I guess.
I would take that just for the sheer size of the guy. Because
Yeah,
I've been a big fan of like kind of switching them up the like I would have loved to have seen Trey Burks in a slot position on this Kansas City Chiefs offense. I feel like he could have absolutely just
Yeah.
wreaked havoc. But yeah,
Hey,
that's where I'm
just
at.
Justin Ross still on the board.
There's some guys out there.
That's a big guy.
There's some dogs still out there. So we never know. We'll see what they do. But yeah, so far I think the consensus here at All Chiefed Up is an A- on the draft, which what more can you ask for? I mean, if you're in the A's, you've done your job, you've done what you needed to do, and you've put yourself in a good position. I think there's a lot of people salty at how good the Chiefs have drafted. People are not happy with the fact that the Chiefs,
Hey, I did see a tweet from Colin Cowherd, and he said Chiefs are going to be just fine after this draft. So
well, that's the thing about
they're
it.
giving us some credit,
People were so pumped that Tyreek Hill's gone, and now they're realizing, hey, we just drafted so well that we might have actually got better as a team, and they don't like it whatsoever.
I
because
mean,
they're, that bragging rights they had was very short lived, where they, all the Donkey fans and the Charger fans and even the Raiders fans acting like they were the greatest thing ever. Y'all haven't done nothing. You lost Tyreek Hill. You suck. And then now they're starting to see things forming together, and they're getting back into that defense mode where they're like, I'm going to shut up a little bit now because.
Yeah. So these teams, they built using older players, and it's going to fade in a year, 2 years, 3 years. And all of our guys that we're drafting this year is going to be monsters here in 2 or 3 years. So
yeah.
I think Veach did it the right way, to be honest. He didn't panic, and he's doing it right, I believe.
He is doing it the right way. And so after the AJ Brown trade and some of the other trades that have happened, Marquise Brown, there's been a few more. It makes you really see that the Chiefs absolutely fleeced Miami with Tyreek.
Yeah, we've been saying that from the beginning. I see where Tyreek actually posted up on something today talking about how Miami won that deal because they got him, and it don't matter how many draft picks they got because they're not Tyreek Hill. But
Tyreek Hill is about to come back down to earth. I've always liked Tyreek Hill. He's fun, and he was a great player, and he was fun to watch. He was always doing funny stuff, and I like his cocky attitude to a certain extent. But Tyreek Hill's head's blown up so big over the last year. Like, I'm kind of glad he's gone. And just, comments like that, he's going to realize real fast that Tyreek Hill is not what he thinks he is, without Patrick Mahomes. Like, when you're dealing with Tua and you're playing for the Dolphins, yeah, let's see how big that head gets, buddy, because you're about to crash back down to earth, sir.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up, but we'll probably do this again tomorrow night and cover rounds 4, 5. We don't have a 6, but we got a bunch of 7s. So yeah, we'll get back on tomorrow and wrap up the whole draft. And yeah, this is probably just going to be a YouTube video, so don't go looking for it on podcast world because it ain't going to be there. It's a YouTube exclusive, so that's why you guys got to start subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you don't miss this idiotic conversation we've been having.
Chiefs Kingdom, just ignore me. Ignore my tweets around that 62 pick. I mean, I was absolutely furious. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, he was raging.
Still salty about it, but I am gonna give us an A-, and that's a good thing. So, thanks for tuning in and watching us babble about the draft. Make sure you check back tomorrow night on YouTube. We'll probably be back, like Mike said. So go ahead, subscribe, hit the notification, give us some likes, tell your friends about it. Give Mike some credit. Even though I'm big giving him crap, he has picked a lot of things right in this draft. He's been pretty spot on with a lot of things. I mean, he picked Karlaftis, he picked Sky Moore of the Chiefs, and he set and nailed so many in the second round today before they happened that I thought I was like, are you cheating? What's going on here?
I called George Pickens out of the top 52. Just gonna throw
okay, Tyreek Hill, swell that head swelling. So
I'm Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Peace. See you guys.